Hello friends, welcome back to Devtastic. So in this video, we will create a simple notes application which includes adding a new note and also to display a note using a pop-up views. Let's have a quick demo of the application which we gonna implement. So initially we have a notes, a text, and also we have a button here to add a note, and we have a recently added notes text, and here we have a list view. So let me add a new note and show how it looks like. So as soon as we click on the add note button, so there will be a pop-up with title and note text fields, and also we have a two buttons here. So if we click on cancel, the pop-up will be get closed. So again I'll click on this. If we click on the add button, it will add our title and notes data to the list view. Add sample title, sample notes description. I'll click on add. Yes, as you can see, the same data is added to the list. As you can see, this is a scrollable list view. So if we click on this list item, again we will get a pop-up with the notes as a title, and we have a sample title with the title data, and we have a notes description here. Also we have a button here, OK. So if I click on OK, the pop-up will be get closed. We'll start with creating a basic application, and then we can add all the required components step by step. So I have already created a Notesapp Flutter, and maybe I will modify the same application. I'll remove everything. And I'll run my app. So let's create my app. Let's create my app. For now, let it be stateless widget. Okay, so now this stateless widget, again this stateless widget should override build method. Let's do that. So here we need to return the component. So let's return material app. Let's create one more component for our home, that let's call it as my notes app. Okay, again let's extend this with stateful widget, because going forward, whenever we try to add a new note, again our list view should be updated on the go, right? So let's extend it with the stateful widget for now. Again, stateful widget should override create state method. So inside this create state method, we need to return our state class. So let's create the state class. State extends state with my notes app. Okay, again this should override build method. Okay, now here we can return my notes state. So here let's return a simple container, and let it be child text data. Okay, let's run this application. So here it should be my notes app. Let's run this application. So I'll open the terminal, and we can use the same flutter run command to run the application. So before running that, we need to make sure our device is properly targeted. So currently it is showing no devices because we have not selected the target device to run the application. Now because I have already up and running my iOS simulator 16, it is showing up here. So I'll select the same device, and I will run this flutter run command. Yes, so our data is showing up. We can modify the UI later. Now our class structure is ready. So now let's create by some app bar and some headings let's return a scaffold. Okay, so here we can create the app bar. So let's give the title as a simple text component. I will say devtastic. Okay, and we can, let's add some color to the app bar. Okay, that is background color. So this can be color dot from ARGB. You can just select any color you want. So this is ready. So let's give a body for this. So let's body be a simple container, then child be a simple text. Okay, let's save this. Let's reload the application. Yes, so now our application is coming into a shape. So let's create one text which says notes. We can make use of the same notes, and let's add some style to this text style. Let's add some size to this. Let's say 30. Also let's add a weight in the sense we can make it bold. Okay, I'll save this. Now if I reload the application, as you can see, we have a notes. So now below this notes, let's add a button. Okay, so now we are using a container, right? So container will have only one child under it, so we cannot add multiple childs in a stack, right? See, it is only specifying a child. Let's update this container with the column or component, where this will accept a list of childs. This has a children's. Again, this will be a list. Let's copy our component and I'll put it inside this list. Let's save this. Let's reload the application. We are not seeing any difference, but now we can able to add multiple children's to the column, right? So now let's add one more children, that is our button. Let's add a elevated button to show some text on the button to add a new notes. Elevated button. Now for now, let's on pressed, I'll keep the function. Now the child. So here we need to add a child, right? So let me give this child as some basic text. So the basic text can be at notes. Okay, that should be fine. So now I'll save this and I'll reload the application. Yes, so as you can see, we got the button. Okay, add note. So now we'll make this button a little bit heavier to this UI, so that whenever we open the application, so this add note will evident for an user to add a note. So I will wrap this elevated button inside a card. Okay, so for that card, let me give a child as this elevated button. This is fine. So now if I save this and if I reload the application, see, there is a card view which is just behind this button. So now we'll make this card view to occupy all the width of the screen. Okay, so to do that, let me wrap this card inside a container. Okay, let's add a container. Inside that, let's add a child. Child should be our card view, where inside a card view we have a elevated button. Okay, so now this is fine. So now in this container we can add a width as a double dot infinity, which will occupy all the width. If I restart the application, as you can see, now we have a button which occupies full width. Okay, so now the note is also moved to the center, but we don't need that, right? So let's add a axis alignment. So for this column, axis alignment is equal to cross axis alignment dot start. So if I save and reload the application, see, the notes came to the starting position and now we have a button. So now let's add some more cosmetic changes to this elevated button. Okay, before that we have a card, right? Let's make a shape for that card. Let's the shape be rounded rectangular border. Inside that we can give a border radius. That border radius again be circular. For now I'll give 25. Okay, so now because this is a card, let us give some elevation. I'll give it as 10. So let's save this, reload the application. As you can see, we got the elevation and also we got a rounded corners. Okay, now let's add a color to this outlined elevated button, right? So now after this I'll add a style object with style from. So here we can add a background color, so that can be colors dot blue for now. Okay, let's save this, reload the application. Yes, so we got it. So let's adjust the height a little bit because it is with the limited height, right? So for the same container, let's add a height of maybe 60 for now. Let's see how it looks like. Yes, I think this is looking clean, but let us change the color of this text on the elevated button. Let's add some styles. That is again text style, colors dot white. Let's add a white color, reload. I think this is fine. Wait, let's make a bold, font weight dot bold. I think that should be fine. Let's add plus space add note. Okay, let's reload. Yes, I think this is fine. So now we have a button ready. So let us create a pop-up now to show a pop-up window where we can add a note details. Now on top of this button, so there should be a pop-up which should be shown. So now let's create that pop-up. Okay, inside this state class. So let's write void, let's call it as a show input pop-up. Okay, so let's show it as a dialog. So let's create a dialog for first, and we have a context, and this builder can be build context. Again, that should be our context. Okay, so here we need to return a set of components. For now, let's return alert dialog, which will again have a set of components. Again, the title can be a simple text component. Here let's give add note. Okay, and we have a content property. Here we need to add a content, what are all we need to show. So now we need to have a two text fields and buttons, right? So let's create a column because we need to have multiple childs. Columns, again we should have a children's. Okay, in this children's let's add a text field. I'll copy the same, I'll create one more text field. Let's save and let's call this show input pop-up. Let me rename this. Inside our button click, so save it. Okay, so let's reload the application. Now if I click on this button, as you can see, we are getting a pop-up with two text fields. Now let's set this width issue here. So inside the column, not here where we have a column, so here let's add a main axis size, that is main axis size dot min. Okay, let's save this, reload the application. Let's again click on this. So now we have the main axis size got adjusted to the components. So now let's again customize this text fields to accept the title and the notes content. Okay, so every text field should have its controller to be manipulate the data or text whatever the user inputs. So that let's create a text editing controller, title controller is equal to text editing controller. We'll do the same thing one more time for the notes one. Let me rename it as a notes controller. So now for these we need to give a controller, so that is one for title controller, one for notes controller. That is fine. So now let's add some decoration because this is looking very plain. Input decoration, label text. So let's give title. The same thing we can do it for notes also, because this will add this title in middle of this text field, which will looks like a watermark, and also it will move along with the border. I'll show you that. Let's reload the application. So let's click on this add note. Yes, see now we have a title and note. If I click on this again, the title will move to the top. Okay, so now let's add some action buttons to this alert dialog, because whenever we add a title and notes, we need to click on the save or cancel, right, if we don't want to save the note. So let's add a actions button to this. So here we should have an actions. Again, actions will be a list of components, because we can have multiple buttons here. So let's give a text button on pressed. For now let's give it as empty. So this child can be a text cancel one thing. So we can have copy, one more text button, save, or maybe add. Okay, let's save. Let's restart our application. Click on this. Yes, so we got cancel and add. So we have not added any actions, so let's do that. So whenever we click on cancel button, the pop-up should just close, right? Let's add a navigator object dot of this context dot pop. Pop will just pop this model. Let's save this. Let's reload the application. So now if I click on cancel, as you can see, now the pop-up model is closing. So now let's say I have added this data and I will just click on cancel. If I again click on this button, our data persists, right? But after clicking on cancel, the data should clear. So that what we can do before closing the pop-up, let's take the title controller dot, we have a method called clear. So this will clear the data. So this should happen for both the text fields. So again, notes controller dot clear, right? So now if I reload the application, click on this, add some data to both, and if I do cancel, again if I click on the button, the both text fields are cleared, right? So now let's work on this add button. So now before working on this add button, so now whenever click this add button, so these two details should be saved into an object, right? So let's create that object now. So let's call it as notes, create the class. So finals string title, final string notes. Okay, so now let's create a constructor for this notes model class. Required this dot title, required this dot notes. I think now our model is ready. So now we can use this notes, right? So whenever we click on this add button, so we need to get the title and notes, and we need to add it to the notes object. So to add it to the notes object, we need to create a list of notes. Now we need to create the list of notes. So here I'll create a list of notes, note items is equal to, let's empty list of the type notes. Done. So now as soon as we click on add button here, so we need to add it to that list, right? So let's add notes item dot add notes. Again, title will be underscore title controller dot text. Again, the same thing goes with notes controller dot text. Done. So now after this it should close, right? So let's add a same dot of the context dot pop. So this should be capital. Done. So now after saving to this item, it will close, right? So now let's create a list view. List view builder. Again, this should be a context, index. So before this item builder, let's add a item account. That should be note items dot length. Okay. So now here return list tile. Again, this should be having a title. So this title should be this can be a simple text. Let's add some test data. Save this. Okay, let's restart the application. We are not getting anything because so now we have a list view and also some other data. So now list view will not find its boundary to show up, right? So that we need to do one thing, that we need to add the list view under the expanded component. Let's add that expanded. So this child should be this list view dot builder. Okay. So now let's save this and restart the application. Now we got all the components back. So let's add ABCD. Now let's add some notes. If I click on add, there is nothing happening, right? Because we haven't binded this notes item to the title. So let's do that. So I'll remove this test data and let's interpolate note item of index dot title. Save this, restart the application, add some test title, test notes. Let's click on add button. Even now the update is not happening. So this is because if I go back to our pop-up where we are clicking on add button, see here we are directly adding it to the note item, right? But to update it on the go, we should use a method called setState, right? Inside the setState we need to do this addition. So at that time our UI will be again re-rendered using the latest data. So now let's save this, restart the application. Now test title, test notes. Let's click on add. See, we have got the note added to the list. Again we can do the same. Again we got the previous data here because in the addition we are not clearing the data. So let's add that also here after adding our notes to the list. Let's restart the application. Notes 1 add, that is got added. Let's add one more thing. Now the data is cleared. Title 2, notes 2 add. See, all the data is being added. So now let's make this list view to look better. I'll wrap this list tile inside a card view so that we can apply few effects. Card, the child can be this list tile. Okay, So now here for this card we can add a shape. Here we can give border radius. So the border radius circular that we can give, so this can be 10 for now, and also we can give some elevation, that is all. Let's give like 5. So save it, and also we can give some background to this list tile color. Again, that is color dot from ARGB. You can select whatever the color you need. Let's save it, restart the application. Now let me add a title 1, notes 1, add. Yes, so we got the item here. Title 2, notes 2. Yes. Okay, now let's add some gap in between this add note button and this list view, because this looks very congested, right? So here we can add a sized box with height of 20. Save. And also let's add one more text property just to say recently added notes. Okay, so for this one let's give some styles. Text style, size 25, and let's add some weight, that is, let's make it bold. Save. Let's reload. Yes, now we got it. Let me make it capital R. Yeah, so now this looks fine. I think the gap is more here and there is less here, so we'll add one more sized box after this. Sized box with the height of 10. Let's save. Let's reload this. Yeah, now this is fine. So let's add a simple list view. So now let's create title 1, notes 1, add. I think this is fine. Let's add some padding to whole application just here. Okay, because as you can see, we don't have any gaps in the left side. So let's wrap all our column component inside a padding. Okay, padding edge insect all, and let's give it like 10. Let's give child as this entire column. Okay, save it. So now if I restart the application, yes, I think now it looks a bit cleaner. If I add, let's add it. Let's add one more, title 2, note 2, add it. I think this looks good. So let's continue with our implementation, where if we click on these items, list items, right? So we should get a pop-up with these details, note details. Okay, so let's do that. So here where we have a listed tile, we need to add our on tap method. So here we need to show a pop-up. So let's build that pop-up, okay, before calling it here. Here maybe void show display pop-up method. Okay, so here let's show it as a dialog. I have already mentioned, right? So let's create a show dialog method. So here the context will be the same context, and let's add the builder. So this builder should be our build context, and that should be our application context. Again, let's build it. So here again, as we know, right, again here we need to return the component. Let's return the alert dialog. Okay, alert dialog will again have a title. Let's create a simple text here that should be notes. Okay, so after that we can have a content. So the content, again, this can be a group of components. Again, here we need multiple components to be listed, so let's use a column component. So here let's add a children's. Here let's add a simple text to show our title. Let's create one more text to show our notes. Okay, this is fine. So now whenever we click on these items, so that same data should be shown in the pop-up. So we need to pass this data to this show display pop-up, right? So let's accept the data here, that is note item. Okay, so now this note item here we need to use it dot title dot notes. Save this. Okay, so now let's call this method inside our onTap method. Save this. Let's reload the application. Now let's add title1, notes1, add. Let's add one more, title2, notes2, add. So now we have two list items. So let me click on the first item. As you can see, we got the title1, notes1. I'll open the second one. We have a title2, notes2. So now it is showing full height, right? So let us make it the same thing what we did for the other column. So where we have that, see here we have a column, main axis size dot minimum required. Let's do that. And we can do one more thing here. So we need an actions, right? So after this children's, let's add a actions list. Again, this actions list we can use a simple text button on pressed. For now, let's keep it as is. So now this can be a simple text component. Inside that, let's say okay, because we are not giving any options there, right? They can just read their notes and click on OK button. So on click of this button, let's just close the pop-up. So the same thing we can do, navigator of the context dot pop. So now that will close the pop-up. Okay, so let me restart the application. Click on title1, notes1. Let's add it. So now I'll click on this tile. As you can see, we have a title, notes, OK button. So if I click on OK, as you can see, the pop-up is closing. So because this is a title, let's add some style to it, text style, to make it font size as maybe 16 and weight as bold. Save it, restart. So now let's test title. This is the sample notes which is created at the time of demo. Let's add this. So let's click on this title. Yes, now we have a test title and we have the notes, whatever we have added, and we have a OK button. Once we click on this OK button, the model will be get closed. So this is how the notes application works with both input and the displaying using the pop-ups. So please do let me know if you face any issues with this implementation. Please put it in the comment section. I'll try to reply, and please do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.